Ms. Barbara Truman, from the foundation. We thought she was going to participate. She still might. I'll just say that, obviously Mark was, our committee chair. So,
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it to the board's, decision. You know, would you like me to run through the agenda, or would you like to follow tradition and have a board member run through the agenda?
You mean, the agenda is fine with me.
Okay. We'll let Kathy get set up here.
What's that?
Kathy Hinker just joined,
Okay,
so we'll let her get settled in here.
okay.
Okay, and just for my knowledge, the folks on this committee are Lisa, Art, Barbara. Is David on this committee? I'm just,
David is, well, kind of in between. He hasn't officially been appointed, and I think the same thing stands for Kathy. So that would be your role, Melanie, to invite them on the committee. I think we just went ahead and opened things up, especially to some of our new folks.
okay.
I got an invitation from Jennifer, so I'm
Oh.
7 hours. I'm 7 hours ahead of you.
Perfect.
Welcome. No, welcome. No, I just wanted to double check. So welcome. I hope Barbara will join us. I'm Melanie Clark, and I would like to see if there's a motion to nominate and add David and Kathy to this committee.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right, well, that's unanimous, so welcome. You're officially official. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer, for sharing the invitation with them. And Kathy, I'm sorry, I haven't met you. And do you mind just, if I have, then I have forgotten. Everyone looks different on Zoom, but if you don't mind just sharing. Wait,
You're on mute.
or don't tell me you're from Danville and you sat beside me at the last meeting.
Fortunately, her connection looks bad.
Glitchy and on mute.
So, I don't necessarily want to speak for Kathy, but seeing she's having some technical issues, Kathy attended her first board meeting back in, what month is it now? So it'd been February.
Is she from Danville?
Well, she was, she is a retired school teacher, currently
Right.
more in the Williamsburg area.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's just my luck. We met. She sat right beside me.
Yep.
I don't recognize people on Zoom.
It already feels like more than 3 months ago we were all together. Hi, Kathy. Looks like you're back.
Welcome back.
We spoke too soon.
Kathy, can you hear us okay?
Okay. Kathy, we're having trouble hearing you, and my apologies. You and I sat right beside each other. I am horrible at Zoom face recognition. But we welcome you here and welcome to David. And so Jennifer was kind enough to share the agenda with links, and this includes minutes from our last meeting. And this will be an action item for approval. And I would just need someone to make a motion and second. And I was not in that meeting, so that will not be me.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Well, if there's no discussion between Art and Lisa, do you approve the minutes?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, so Joe, do you want to just high level review the process and where we're at?
Yes. So, as you know, we had our AM site visit back in March. Everything went well. I have confirmation that they submitted their report to the AM Accreditation Commission, and they will be meeting in June. And so just to refresh memory, the idea here was to develop our strategic plan outline. We actually submitted that alongside our current strategic plan, which expires technically this month. And we will then receive approximately July a review of our accreditation report from the commission. Any suggestions, constructive criticism, anything that might come out of that report, we would want to consider and possibly include in our next strategic plan. Therefore, what we'll do is use what we discussed today and at next board meeting, as well as what we hear back from AAM, and use that to develop a draft strategic plan for the board's consideration at the August meeting. So that is kind of a high level overview of what we're that in a way kind of combines the timeline as well. If I can take the liberty of skipping down to number 6, we'll end up voting on a final copy of the strategic plan in November, and we plan to then quickly have it ready for publication through online content, but we'll also have some hard copies, especially since this will be a 5-year document. So we'll have that before the end of the new year.
Okay, thank you. That was helpful. And I did review the minutes from the last meeting just to catch me up. So if we look at item 4, the goals and objectives, if we want to collectively review that, I don't know if anything specifically was updated in this, Joe, as
You talk about the 2-page kind of synopsis.
yes, that begins with synopsis, the mission, the goals and objectives, yes.
Yeah, so this was a result of our strategic retreat about a year ago, plus ensuing conversation and so forth. As you go through this, I hope you recognize that there's probably enough in here for 2 strategic plans. The purpose of a strategic plan is to identify achievable, great, thank you, achievable goals and so forth, and to become a guiding star rather than something that you're 100% locked into. So we did have some adjustments along the way with this last strategic plan. So all that said, the goal of today's meeting would be to identify priorities in this document that we can then bring as a recommendation to the board to ensure its inclusion within the next strategic plan. So we can do this one of 2 ways. We can either go through this section by section and bullet by bullet. I've already pulled out kind of my top bullet points from each section that I think would be appropriate for a strategic plan. So that will be another way to approach it, because some of these things, you know, they kind of are what we do regardless if we have a strategic plan or not. You know, they are important, but it is part of our day-to-day as far as looking at some of the bigger picture things that will define our 5 years. Those are the items that I personally started to gravitate towards. So Melanie, of those 2 ways, do you want me to choose one over the other?
Unless someone objects, I have no issue with that at all. And I know that the board received a copy of this and had the opportunity to provide feedback as well. So I'm sure that's been incorporated.
Yes. So we just kind of walk through the research collections as core priorities. The very first one is something that we do fairly regularly and throughout the last decade or so. We've met with some good success here and there, but I think a request for a new FTE for research and collections and continue to attempt to grow that department should be a priority for us going forward. So I put that in there. The other two bullets that really kind of, again, came to my attention mainly because of their strategic importance as opposed to a day-to-day kind of consideration is we obviously have to continue the Douglas Avenue rehab project, which also includes the allotment of space and so forth. This will then complement another one that we kind of begun to talk about, but maybe it's time to formalize, and that's later on in our in this document where we talk about the potential for developing a new wing of this museum, right? So, but we'll get to that when we get to that section. And then the other one is the last bullet in this particular document is to connect RNC research with contemporary issues. So I like the idea that we do live in a rapidly changing world, and I think we should be responsive, whether it's to endangered species, climate change, or any other topic. You know, I mean, I do recognize that we live in the world that we live in. I do recognize that we don't know who the next governor is going to be, but given that I think a lot of our federal partners are going to have their hands tied in various ways, I mean, I think we might have to fill in the gap in some capacity. So those were the things. Determine future space needs at Starling Avenue. You know, I actually like what comes down later on under long-term vision and growth, where we look at a wing. So I think that is why I gravitate more towards that and not making the determined future space needs at Starling Avenue as a strategic planning point. And then the continued professional development and implementation of new technology is driven by staff. Again, I kind of consider that a day-to-day. That's what they do. That's what they have done and will continue to do. Important, yes, and we will look for that. And I think that comes in their annual evaluations as far as we're concerned in-house. But these other three bullets, I find more digestible at kind of a higher level and a good guiding star for us going forward. So I'll open that up to comments, or I will also point out that I sent out a updated version of this. So if your favorite bullet point isn't on here, it might be on my latest copy. So no worries.
I had a question about that first set of bullets under research and collections.
Yes.
Two questions, actually. I was curious about the renaming of Douglas Avenue. I'm not wed to Douglas Avenue at all, but I'm just curious about the renaming it part. And then on the sort of connecting our research with contemporary issues, I didn't know if there's any discussion movement about, as we apply for grants, just changing some of the language we use in those grants, as in like not using the word diversity. I mean, you guys have already thought about that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. That always heavy on our mind, how we present things. So the latest proposal that has gone to the federal level is the request for congressionally directed funds for our Young Explorers Center through Senator Kane's and Senator Warner's office. And I think we can safely say that you don't see that language in there.
Right, yeah, so we leaned on the focus of that, which is early childhood education, families, pre-K. So as far as I know, that's non-controversial.
Yeah. And Lisa, the other one was, oh, the renaming.
And then the renaming of, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that you bring that, because we have talked about that in-house. And I think once it becomes, it used to be known as when we first moved over here, and Ryan, you're the only one that was here. It was named something else, wasn't it?
It was the VMNH Research and Collection Center. That was the name on the sign out front.
The problem that we had though is that people were still showing up at the wrong address on a regular basis. So,
Ah,
yeah, so we took that down, simply because of that, that reason. But I think we have an opportunity now, if we wanna, recycle that name, or even open it up. I mean, I think we do have, some opportunities, including, a possible naming if the right person is interested in, creating, say, like an endowment fund to support research and collections.
yeah, love that idea. I was just curious.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it's just been long habit that we keep calling it the Douglas Avenue facility. So. Any other comments or questions, or shall I move on to the next set?
I mean, my only piece with regards to the professional development, and as you said, that's something that we would do anyway. I don't know if there would be a way to, and I don't care, but I don't know if there's a way to connect that to professional development that's tied to, another point. You referenced contemporary issues. So as we evolve, that it would be connected to priorities within the plan.
I like that idea, and certainly we could make that sort of a sub section of one of our priority areas, or maybe multiple, where professional development and growth of staffers is needed. We can insert that in there. And it ties back to, it's nice because it ties directly back to a foundation effort to fund staff in their professional development activities. So, all right, anybody else? Okay, if we move down to educational impact and relevance. The one that we're going to be doing regardless, because we've already committed, and we're asked by the Secretary of Education, is actually the second bullet to engage the Department of Education for expanded statewide outreach. And that comes in the form of celebrating the United States 250th birthday. And we're already kind of well on our way with that. We're going to have an exhibit and some events that will surround this and will be part of a larger kind of network of agencies doing special activities. And so we'll kind of be on the agenda for that. So we're doing that regardless. Another one is the fourth bullet, where we talk about cross-departmental work in support of science outreach, especially as it pertains in the sub-bullet where it says VMNH, RNC, education, exhibits, and storytelling. And that's something we've talked about in-house. As we develop new materials, we want to tell stories. We want to make personal connections and so forth. And we've talked about using certain kind of standard storytelling methodologies to develop our exhibits. So as opposed to basically turning a textbook inside out with a lot of information, we can still get that information out there, but put it more in a storytelling format. So we think that evolving towards that would be a good idea. So my copy here, my expanded copy actually has a couple of more bullets. And one is media connections, social influences, means to increase exposure, right? So this is maybe using social media and other methods, kind of like what we did during pandemic. We had Ben in Nature, we had Adam Pritchard doing the stories from paleontology and whatnot. So I think that's something that we should be leveraging for sure. So let me see what else. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. So those are the three that from the educational impact and collaboration. I think those are the three that we'd like to focus on.
Is there any feedback for this section?
Yes, I think the review for research associates, that would be more appropriate under the banner of research and collections because it's typically the curatorial staff that extends invitations, accepts applications and CVs, and then presents a package to the Research and Collections Committee for approval and then presentation to the full board, as I recall. I understand why it's here, though. I'm gathering it's to start looking for people that might have connections that we could use in a broader sense at the museum. But still, if it's under the purview of research associates, it would fall under research and collections. Is there a particular reason why it was put here?
Just the idea of, this was about collaborations like you're alluding to with finding people that could help with exhibit content or developing innovative education programs and so forth. I think that's just where it came from, but certainly could go under research and collections. And even though I didn't review it here and kind of my cherry picked what I think should be in the actual published strategic plan, this is something we do anyway. But I think calling that out under research and collections can help kind of underscore our everything from, working with the rapidly changing world, but also storytelling, kind of marrying the two. I think it adds sort of a bit of synergy between the two sections.
Is there another existing umbrella of museum activities where we go outside the museum to seek expertise for particular educational programs or exhibits?
Well, two things come to mind, and if anybody else has anything, please speak up. The first is Master Naturalists. So, for instance, they help a lot with our festivals. So we're kind of drawing upon them. And then the second is our work off-site with educators that are residential in other cities. So we're drawing upon their expertise and experience to deliver programming. So right now we currently have 3 active educators in Charlottesville. We are in the middle of recruiting one who's actually in Waynesboro. And then we have traditionally had one out of Newport News, though she's getting deeper into retirement and has not been active. So Christy is looking to find someone there. So I think there are other means in which we look for expertise and talent.
Okay, yeah.
I had a question. First of all, approximately how many research associates are there and how long is the term?
Those are good stats that I'm not going to recall, Dave. We have about like 30 or so, right? Does that sound right?
It's about 30.
Yeah, it's around 30. And if I recall, it's a 5-year term. So if you're a research associate, you can and your 5 years. Normally what happens is Ben Williams will go through the list, and if he sees a research associate reaching the 5 years, he'll reach out to see if they want to continue. And I don't know if anyone's ever said no, but then basically that goes to the board. We're going to renew the status of these 3 research associates or so, whatever it happens to be.
Okay, I kind of agree with Art, though. It might be more appropriate under research and collections, but whatever. I'm just curious. Different institutions do it differently.
Sure. We have 53, Dave.
Oh, we're up.
53?
Yes, sir.
And that makes sense that we're up because we, of course, have recruited, how many in recent years, how many new curators? 3 or 4. And so generally what happens when a new curator starts, they often nominate some of their close colleagues. So it makes sense that we're up above our historic average.
All the exhibit development stuff too with JMU and Waynesboro and all that. So yeah, it definitely makes sense that we're up.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Go here. All right, under long-term vision and growth, let's see, what does he have much? So my version has just a little bit expansion to it, but it's basically the same thing. So the first is the physical and digital expansion. So we're of course in the middle of the VM&H Waynesboro design. Well, not in the middle, we're actually very near the end, to be blunt, and we're going to move in. We are now moving into the request to matriculate to the construction pool. So we of course have to have that as a strategic point in our plan. Linked to that, in the third sub-bullet, we have the mobile science outreach trailer. I call it a strategy, but it's functional. We're actually, in recent months, we found out the state has set aside some maintenance reserve funds for that trailer to kind of bring it to full operation and so forth. So I think that those are linked, and we're doing them as we move forward. So I think, thinking about them strategically is something that makes sense. And then as far as under that bullet, under the fifth sub-bullet, the future Canopy Walk and Wilson Park connection, we're just now finishing the Gene S. Adams Education Pavilion out back. You'll have a chance to see it on Saturday. It's not 100% done, and certainly we haven't started on installing the exhibits. The construction crew still has some railings to install. Is there anything else that's not exhibit related that needs to be done out there? I don't recall anything.
No, I think it's just the railings.
Yeah, we did a change order. We just didn't like the way it looked. And so we actually asked them to extend our railings on the pavilion. So that should be done in the near future, and we're going to start installing exhibits. And so you probably all remember that we had talked about the idea of a future canopy walk where we connect the back of the Natural History Museum, in particular, utilizing the pavilion as an entry point to create a walkway through the treetops of Wilson Park out back. We never got to that in the strategic plan, mainly because the pavilion took so long. So that is something that we can still continue to explore, and in general, exploring a better connection with Wilson Park. In fact, 2 of our foundation board members sit on Martinsville City Council, and they both want to see the museum engaged from their city council position. They want to see the museum more engaged in with Wilson Park and see that park used more than it is, because it's about a 40-acre asset. And I don't know that any of you have ever had a chance to walk down into that park, but it's old growth trees. The one tree that fell where we took a cookie of it for an exhibit, what was that, 250 years?
Yeah, it was before the Jefferson, we were trying to compare something.
That was the one. So the one that fell was something like 200 years old or 250, I can't remember,
Yeah.
but it was pretty old. But Hayden found one doing the dendrochronology that was 1740, I think. So it's got some really old growth in it. So I think there are a lot of things. We already do a lot. Christie does stuff down there. Hayden does stuff down there. All of the people here are part of the little birding community. We go down and count birds down there, right? But I think we can formalize that a little bit more. The second of these, the third of the bullets here, develop context and space allocation for a new wing. I really think that should be a priority. We're not going to be able to say we want to build a wing of this museum in 5 years. It's unrealistic. But I do believe we can come up with a formalized proposal that we can then utilize our friends in the legislature, namely Delegate Phillips and Senator Stanley, as folks who might be able to help us bring legislation through. And I think we have compelling arguments, considering that when we throw festivals, we're completely out of space. We have to rent tents and so forth. And we have this growing collection, and we have this growing research and collection staff and all the contributions that they make. So all of this, I think, is justification for growing our footprint here in Martinsville. I know a lot of people say, hey, museums, every 10 years, there's a board member or an executive director that want to build a wing or something, because it's an ego project. But in this case, I think we have lots of strong justification to grow our square footage. So in fact, Melanie, we might even, if the board is in agreement that this should be part of our strategic plan, we may even want to form an ad hoc committee for this particular bullet point that involves the foundation, board of trustees, the key staff, Jonathan. So anyway. All right. The one bullet that I'm not highlighting is the place-based programs and initiatives within a global context. I think we kind of do that. I think, again, I'm kind of leaning on that being something we already do. We do it on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to an item, a bullet point within our guiding star document.
So can I ask a question if you're finished with this section? I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, I am. I'm done.
So on the adding a wing to our current building, do we have all the money we need for Martinsville? I just I'm a little worried about asking for something different before we finish getting what we need for something we're doing. Or maybe the ad hoc committee is just going to start studying it. I don't know. I want to think forward, but I also don't want to get in the way of stuff we're planning to try to do now, especially with the
100%.
General Assembly.
Right. It's much too early to start talking budget or asking for funds, right? And so even after 5 years, it's going to be too early. So if I could wave a magic wand and have what I want in the next 5 years, I would like to, on a modest scale, hire an architect who could be a form of advice, not to develop technical drawings or anything like that. Because, I mean, in my amateur ways, if I look at our building, I would say, oh, they're most likely going to blow out the library wall and expand towards Starling Avenue. But I've learned enough over the years, these architects are very clever, and they might say, no, 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 your best bet is to move loading dock A and make that part of your new building and expand from there for all these different reasons, right? So I don't know. I have no expertise in where you could add, a wing. And then the second thing, of course, the ad hoc committee with strong support from the staff will need to determine space needs. We don't want to just build a building and then figure out what we're going to do with it. We start from the inside out. And so those are a couple of points that I think are really key to starting the conversation, such that when we have our current large asks out of the way and we show success, then we can move on to the next one over the horizon. If that makes sense, Lisa?
Yeah, it does.
And I think in that particular bullet point, if the board agrees to include it, we should have some definitive products that we should say should be done on this approximate timeline and be completed within the next 5 years.
I think you could fold in the YMCA building into that conversation too, unless something's been stated and I'm unaware, but I know that keeps popping up, like when they exit that space, is that something we're interested in, or is it even an option?
Yeah, I think we can put that in there for sure as, exploring other opportunities. And I don't think in our public document, we really want to name what those other opportunities are, but we can certainly, discuss that, so, but no, as far as that, David, I don't know, we have the little squares on the side showing who's on. Kathy isn't connected here, is she? Or did we lose her entirely?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I was able to get back.
All right, good. I just couldn't see you on the screen, so just wanted to make sure. But Kathy and Dave, you might not have been present for these conversations, but next door to us is our local YMCA. They're right now deep into a capital campaign, $20 million, $30 million, so they're maybe halfway there to build a brand new building. So, and that would be about a mile from this location. So that means that building will eventually be vacant and available. And so does that mean we want it? Well, that remains to be seen. Can we afford it? That remains to be seen. Will local assets like Harvest Foundation, purchase it and gift it to us? It remains to be seen. So But I think exploring these outside possibilities for expanding our footprint is a valid point. One other thing, just so you know, under that third bullet point, develop context and space allocation for a new wing. In the updated version, we also, this is a chance for the staff to stretch out a bit, because some of them come up with some interesting ideas that are not incorporated in this building, such as a dedicated media lab, which could be used from everything from exhibits to our marketing and social media to visiting colleague dormitories. So, and when they're not available, we can even have board members stay there should they want to. So anyway, so the staff have been a little on the creative side with some of these opportunities. All right, I'll move on to financial sustainability and diversification. Let me see here. Yeah, again, I've got a few extra notes in my updated version. As far as the first bullet goes, to help the boards identify, cultivate, and solicit, steward new supporters. We're already, again, that's day to day. That's what we're doing. That's why our endowment crossed $1 million, because of the last 12 or 13 years of cultivating people so that they know that they can make gifts like this to our endowment, so forth. As far as the development of, I've got a new bullet that would be next, and it's one that I think is important. It's the development of financial assets, and that would involve both board and staff participation to increase our appropriation. We always have been and continue to be a real bargain, right? And so I think it should be part of our strategic outlook on things to increase our increase our appropriation while simultaneously working with the foundation to increase our endowment and overall giving. So that's one of the things that I want to include within the strategic plan. And I think, broaden public engagement and creative use of assets. I think those could be collapsed into essentially one point. We're talking about creating new assets like the Young Explorers Center, but also the development of what's going to be an existing one, such as the Gene S. Adams Education Pavilion. And we have discussed many times in the points the idea of having something like advanced tours. So this would be like an upcharged kind of premier kind of opportunity for people to come in and buy a ticket that isn't just for public galleries, but would also give you a certain special experience looking in the vaults and so forth. So we've talked about that, have never really executed, but I would encourage that the board include this within the strategic plan. So kind of growing up, so to speak, becoming a stronger, kind of more savvy kind of institution. So that's where I think all of these are important, but the first one, again, I think is kind of a day-to-day rather than a strategic plan point, but the other three can be essentially collapsed into two, and I would say we include those.
Any feedback on this section?
All right, so move on to human capital institutional standards. Again, DEI&A, I think is something that we do and we have done before it was ever really an acronym. And so I again place that underneath our day-to-day, but the other 3 points, obviously to achieve and maintaining our accreditation. We will achieve accreditation this year, but we have to live up to that essentially. So we will be addressing concerns and suggestions from the commission's report when we receive it in July. I've never actually seen one of these reports come back to an institution without some constructive, I don't know if the term constructive criticism is right, but professional suggestions. So I think we'll have some items to address. Leadership succession planning, that should be in any institution anyway. So I think it's something that we need to do. And attracting and supporting the highest quality of staff and board members, that actually has a number of sub-points That would involve everything connecting back to increasing our appropriation for competitive salaries, for attracting and retention of staff. And then the process that we go through, we've always been a little informal in terms of finding future board members. We've been very lucky to get very good ones, but you know, we've never really, as an institution, except for maybe the occasional one-off suggestion to the Office of Appointments, or to, in this particular administration, we go through the Secretary of Education, but we've never really formalized a process of, say, vetting potential board members and making suggestions the way Art did for Dave, for instance, right? We haven't done a lot of that. Most of our board members are people who kind of self-nominated or somebody nominated them, but we've never really strategically looked for board members that have talents and backgrounds that would complement the existing board population. So basically, I'm going to say include all of these, but again, the DEI and A part is something that we always do, and again, goes back to our day-to-day.
Joe, I'm all for looking for prospective board members. As you just said, I tried to do that this time, and we got lucky once. But we're at the mercy of the governor's office on this, and I think maybe this goes back to the point I was asking you before about reviewing research associates. I wondered if we have another mechanism or umbrella for looking for talent for particular projects or projected programs down the road. And I got to thinking if we had some sort of an advisory council that we could develop that would give us the flexibility to find people who could help us. I mean, for example, for raising the museum's media profile, this is something we've talked about a lot. You know, everybody in Southwest Virginia loves us, and you get outside of Southwest Virginia and it's hit or miss whether people know who we are and what we do. And this is why I've thought for a long time that if we could connect with one of the public radio stations like here in Richmond or in Blacksburg, you know, that would be a great way with a series of videos, radio spots, etc. That would go a long way into introducing us to people across the board. And if we had some sort of an official advisory council where people would have could be a part of that, be invited to be a part of that, that would help serve our needs on multiple levels.
Yeah, Art, it's often forgotten, but we do have an advisory board.
He's got to watch my shoulder.
And as such, that advisory board is primarily made up of past foundation board members and members of the Board of Trustees, but not solely. There have been people that we've invited to apply to be a board member. For instance, Mike Barber, retired state archaeologist, he decided he couldn't commit at this point to the time necessary to be an effective board member. So we invited him to join the advisory board, and he participates in that. So we have the structure already. Maybe we can, and you know, we're not having to solve all our problems right now. I can piece this together for further discussion at the next two board meetings, that we basically better utilize the advisory board we have by, you know, perhaps strategic recruitment of people who can help us with things such as our media profile.
I think that would be, in the long run, that would be more effective than trying to shoehorn them into the research associates. I'm all for reviewing the research associates, don't get me wrong, but I think having an advisory council would give us a lot more flexibility in finding talent for particular projects as they come up.
Great. Okay, we'll go ahead and include that in there, and we can massage that as this process plays out.
Okay.
And then under stronger boards working together, I actually added another bullet here. So with the first one, as with staff logistical support, this is going to be a board initiative. This is going to be something that you'll all have to work on. But members of both boards identified mechanisms for closer collaboration, providing fiscal resources for strategic initiatives. So, whatever that looks like, I mean, we'll do the heavy lifting. But in terms of whether it's, social occasions, maybe have a joint meeting, involving both the board of trustees and the foundation board every other year or something. That's something that, will have to come, from you all. But we are, highly in favor of a tight synergy between the foundation board and the board of trustees, and anything we can do to enhance that would be great. And, Art, I think this was your example, but my updated, document, there's a second bullet that's examined board meeting format, with the purpose of increased board member strategic engagement, right? So, I think that's self-explanatory. And I think that's something we can, set goals for. That is, we can have a board meeting where, or maybe two board meetings where we have, we break into small groups to discuss what that might look like, then come up with some kind of synthesis, and then set a date for initiation of what a new kind of more involving, closer involved, what am I trying to say? A more engaging, meeting format, rather than just listen to a report and vote on a few things.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
yeah, I think both of those are good strategic initiative to ensure that we're taking care of our home base the proper way.
Didn't we, I'm switching topics back to the meeting with the foundation. Didn't we used to have a regular annual meeting, a joint meeting with the foundation? I feel like we did.
It was always the November board meetings were designated to have a joint evening reception before that. So it's kind of shifted over the years to different things, but.
Yeah, I don't know how effective that was, because some people just don't participate in the social activities. So, we only had a fraction, from each board participating. So I'm not
Right.
saying eliminate that, but, you as a board may want to think about some other way that guarantees a stronger, kind of blend of the two boards. So, I mean, no better way to get to know each other than to work together on something.
Right.
And that's pretty much what I have. My recommendation is that, we'll kind of, have in-house discussion, and we will from there piece together, kind of a refined version of this that's, simplified. And we'll bring that, for consideration at the Board of Trustees meeting this Saturday. And then, we'll hopefully have, after full board discussion, we can continue to refine it. And then we'll have the, kind of final copy, ready for the October meeting, so it can be released, the November meeting, so it can be released by the end of the year.
And at the meetings, Saturday and then in August, basically, you're seeking approval of those, the bullet points that we just looked at, and not necessarily how you will go about achieving those?
We probably honestly will have, I would imagine that the most effective document will have at least a hint in each one about how to get there or how to measure success. What is success going to look like? I think we should have some of that in there.
Okay.
The best goals are one, I forget what SMART stands for,
Specific, measurable, attainable, timely, yeah.
Yeah, all of that, so, but the attainable part is what I'm speaking to. I want to make sure the board knows we're getting into something that's attainable. So an example would be the wing of the building. I would want to make sure that nobody is under any misconception that in 5 years we're going to have a wing, or that we're going to be raising money to have a wing, right? But that we are going to do our in-house homework, looking over the horizon and future success. And what current success looks like is to have that homework done well.
Mm-hmm.
It probably wouldn't hurt to send everybody, at least on the committee, a copy of our last Museum Without Walls report, just as a refresher to see what we said we were going to do, what we've done, and how that may or may not relate to the document that we're putting together now? Are there things that are being left behind that shouldn't be? Is there something there that will get our attention and think, oh yeah, we need to be a little more aggressive about this or proactive about this? It just might be just a quick review sooner than later might be useful in going forward with this document.
Writing quickly here. In fact, I'm confident, if I remember right, that anything left unfinished from the current strategic plan that is ending, we have recycled in some capacity to ensure
Okay.
we're not losing that opportunity, you know.
Well, that works for me.
All right, but yeah, no, we'll send out Museum Without Walls 2020 to 2025. And in your board packet, which Jennifer has already sent out, and my board report this time around, for obvious reasons, is basically a review.
Yep.
What we've done, including kind of a long laundry list that I'll be quizzing you all on Saturday.
Well, I imagine we still have copies of the document that we distributed to the legislature and elsewhere, the finished version.
Yep. Oh yeah.
It would be, I'm sure mine's around here somewhere. I've got a big board pile here that I haven't looked at in a while. So just prompting myself, I could probably dig through that and find it. And that would certainly help me.
It's a PDF online, so we'll make sure to send to the full board the link, so anyone
Okay.
who view it, they can.
Thanks.
Yeah, and we can also have hard copies lying around. We're also talking about, about different formats. We've been doing kind of like a 6-page, 8-page booklet, which I don't know how effective it is, because it's probably too much for someone to leaf through without just looking at the pictures. We're talking about maybe doing something a little more creative. So, but that's what this team's for, right?
Yeah.
They're here for their creativity.
Nothing.
Okay, thanks for that suggestion, Art, to include that. And I know, Joe, you've already gone through the timeline, and we're having open discussion now. Is there anything else anyone wanted to add? Any feedback for this Saturday to Joe?
I don't have feedback on this Saturday. I do have an open discussion item whenever we're ready.
I would proceed.
I just think we need to talk about the future of the committee and leadership for the committee and what we want the committee to be doing. So on leadership, Melanie, that's really up to you or the committee going forward. But also, we're wrapping up the strategic plan. We've just had the outsiders come in and tell us what we need to do better. So I think the new leader of this committee and the committee need to think about what they want to be focused on, right? What should be on their next agenda. I think the door is a little wide open. So I just think discussion of the future of the committee would be, and where the committee goes should be the agenda of the new leader of the committee, whoever that is. I don't know how other people feel, but what should their focus be? I don't know. There's lots of options, right? There are so many things in that strategic plan they could focus on.
No, I appreciate that. I think often I don't know, but I've been part of many of strategic plans, and once we finish it, we're like, oh, thank goodness. And the reality
Right.
it's a living, breathing document. I know
Right.
Joe's always done a great job of including those as a reminder. And so I think that that is something that should be done to continue to be willing to look at it as a team, because it's not just the museum's plan, it's our plan. And be willing to assess where we are and where we want to really dig in, which Joe did today, highlighted some of the specific areas, but making sure you never know what might happen. Did COVID happen during the last strategic plan?
No, it happened just as this one was being released.
Okay. Never know. I appreciate that, Lisa. And so this committee, I don't know, because I was not on this committee previously. Did this committee meet continually as if, man, we've got a plan and we got to get it done? Or was there like a sigh of of relief and we didn't focus on meeting as much.
Well, there were a couple of initiatives that this committee focused on. One was DEA and I, right? So it was focused on ensuring that we kind of are living up to that, you know, and I think we found that we do, and we were able to even, I think, improve upon how we serve our community and provide access for all. The second thing, obviously, was, earlier anyway, strategic planning points. And then when Mark took over, Mark and we do this now, or at least we try to, is he always talked about connecting the Code of Virginia to our charter, to our budget. So that way everything's justified, right? And so we worked hard to kind of change some of the storytelling about this organization to kind of come back to, yeah, we are doing what the legislature said we're supposed to do when we were formed, and therefore we're code compliant, and we are appropriately applying our budget in a way that's proportional to the things that we're doing for the Commonwealth and so forth. So yeah, I mean, so there are various areas that we focused on as a committee, and some of those active initiatives sunset as we met with success. We were still kind of like, Mark meant to initiate that discussion of code and charter and budget as kind of like a triangle that was supposed to lead up to the discussion. I think in the spirit we have achieved it with this list of action items for the next 5 years.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that feedback, historical context. So we will review this with the full board Saturday. And then if there are any updates from AAM that we would want to consider, obviously we will meet for that. And then the full board will, this will be presented to the full board in November. And then Lisa, I intend to have another meeting following that as to like, what is, to your point, what is the next step, and what is there a specific item that maybe we want to dig in a little deeper on and see what that is. And I hope there are no surprises that, that November we're talking about something completely different, but you never know.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah, so Melanie, I guess the best bet here is that we'll have the discussion on Saturday, and then we'll probably wait until July, because both you and I will simultaneously I've updated AAM so that they know your board chair. And so you and I will each get the same email that will have the Accreditation Commission report and results, right? And so this committee should meet shortly thereafter. So probably late July, early August would be an appropriate time frame to prepare for further discussion at the August meeting.
Okay, I'll work with Jennifer to coordinate a schedule for us to touch base back in June, July.
Sounds good.
And we will provide that report to this committee as well ahead of that. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, it's totally your call, and I agree 100%. This committee should,
Okay.
after we receive it, we should immediately forward it to the Strategic Planning Committee.
Okay, we will do that. Okay, I want to be respectful. It's 2:59. Does anyone have any burning question or idea? Okay.
Did we pick a chair? Are you it, Melanie?
We, I'm just stepping in obviously for Mark at this moment. And I know we are going to, as part of our agenda Saturday, look at the vacancies. And so that would be one of those. And as a board, we will approve several different positions that are currently vacant. And that would be one of those, yes.
Okay. That does it for me.
Okay. All right, Kathy, Dave, thank you for joining us today. And we will see you either in person or virtually on Saturday.
I'll be there.
See you Saturday.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Kathy,
Jeff.
I like your shirt.